I'm Mike,
And I'm Amber. Welcome to the Covenant Chronicles,
where we tell you the truth about relationships.
giving you the tools to build the foundation you always needed. Welcome back to the Covenant Chronicles.
Yeah, I'm here.
You're about to fall asleep over there.
No, we're good. We're chilling. It's been a while since I got out of bed at 4 a.m. So been enjoying that sleep till 5 a.m. for a little while. Been spoiled. Anyways, we were talking this morning, and I brought up the topic of our goals and the fact that we had just rewritten our goals for basically the rest of this year and the next year. And so I guess that would be a good thing to discuss, is that we started writing down our 1 and 2 year goals, doing a goals board together a little while back.
Yeah.
And then basically spending some time refreshing them about every 6 months. And, we just refreshed them recently. And when we did that, I was just talking about the fact that how it's crazy that basically 2 of those goals, which I guess I should talk about the caveat, if you will, to that, is that our goals board are not the little things of like, hey, I really need to fix the ceiling fan in the bathroom. The goals board is the big things, the trips,
Big goals for the year.
Right. Major stuff that you're trying to accomplish, like the big, life-changing type stuff. And with that being said, we refreshed them. It's probably about a month ago now at this point, I believe.
Yeah.
And I was talking about how it's crazy that within the next couple of weeks here, the way things are shaping up, we'll actually have 2 of those major goals crossed off the list.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking about goals and how couples set goals or individuals set goals. And it really got me thinking about what we've done in the past. Because if you really think about it, right, we've been doing that goals board together for probably a year and a half. And I feel like after this last refresh, we are attacking these things a lot quicker and accomplishing things a lot quicker. And part of that, of course, is the place our relationship is in compared to where it was, say, a year or 2 years ago. But part of that also is the way we're setting goals and the way we are doing so together as opposed to the way we did it in the past. I feel like we both had these individual goals, which are important, but we never really discussed those goals, why they were important to us. And we never really discussed our vision together of where we wanted to go in detail, right? Like we both had this kind of map of, hey, this is where we'd like to see things go. But it was never this detailed, like, hey, I'd love to be at this place in a year. Hey, I'd love to be at this place in 2 years, at 5 years, at 10 years. And when we did that, and we actually figured out what our vision looked like, we realized that a lot of the goals we had put down on the previous refresh, after about 6 months, it wasn't just a refresh to say, okay, maybe drop 1 or 2 of these because we don't feel that those actually fit anymore. And then, get rid of the ones that we've crossed off and kind of update it. It was like we took down half the goals.
Yeah.
Right. And then some of the other ones that we added or that were on there changed. And what we realized, I believe, is that we weren't staying true to our vision and we were putting these goals that sounded good. And what I thought about this morning as a couple is how when we changed the way we did it, the fact that we inadvertently actually mapped out our vision of life together and then built goals. Some of them are individual, some of them are together goals, but they all align with what our vision is, right? So even though, maybe one of those things is really for me, or maybe one of those things is really for you, they still align with our overall vision of where we want to go together.
I think right now we only have like maybe one individual goal
Yeah.
on the board, though, and the rest are all like together visions, which is different than what they previously were. Like you said, I actually don't think we started writing our vision board together until like last December. So it hasn't even been a full year.
Mm-hmm.
But when we first started out doing it, it was half you, half me, and then a couple
Together goals.
together goals.
Yeah.
And then we threw on some random 5 and 10 year goals. And I think we only got maybe 6 months into that and realized that we hadn't really like accomplished any of them, and that most of them didn't even still apply to what we wanted, I guess. So then we sat down and redid it. And I think we accomplished like one of those goals. And then we redid it just again recently. Well, the last time that we did it, I think there was still a couple me, a couple you, and then a couple us together. But then we redid it just a month ago, like you said. And now I think it's really more us goals than it is individual. Because even the individual ones are really ones that we're doing together.
Mm-hmm. I
So,
think that's important, and having goals for yourself, right? Of like, which we use, right? Because we also have our I don't know what you'd call them, day planners slash journals slash, goal board vision, whatever. Like they're kind of all encompassed, and we do use those frequently. And in those, they're more detailed and specific to us. But what's funny about that is they all still align with the goals that we set forth together, right?
mhm,
So like the goals of, for example, on the board, to have a consistent healthy lifestyle, right? Then we have both individual goals within our journals, I guess we could call them,
mhm,
of ways that we are going to accomplish that, right? And what
yeah,
that looks like for us individually. What I wanted to really, I guess, go down the rabbit hole of, though, is the massive difference of like you just said, the timeline of how those goals laid out. And once we started saying, okay, it's important to have individual goals for ourselves, but they also need to align with what our vision is, and that
mhm,
vision needs to be with our partner, the depth in which we were able to connect with each other on this topic, as well as how we've been able to actually navigate these goals and accomplish them and work towards them, has vastly changed.
mhm,
And I think that that's something that people maybe don't take into account enough with their relationships, or they don't put enough weight on, right? Is like these goals, and you'll get situations a lot of times where one of the partners gets really motivated and they'll put some goals together, or maybe the other one will get really motivated and they'll put some stuff together, or even if they're doing it together, but it's these like individual goals of like, oh, I'm just going to share with you my goals, but they almost have blinders on, right? Like
mhm,
they will acknowledge their partner's goals, but do you actually understand them? Do you understand why? Do you understand how that plays into what your plan is? Do you understand how that plays into the vision or the plan, or the path that you're on in your relationship?
mhm,
Right? Because I don't think most people do. And there's almost like, even if there's the sense of doing it together, are you actually doing it together?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you saying we're doing it together, or writing individual stuff and sharing it with each other with just no plan of, do these actually align with what our vision is as a couple?
Yeah. And then working together to achieve them. Because I guess it's one thing, like you have your own individual goals, and yeah, say it's a weight loss goal or something. Obviously, that's not really a goal that you both can do together. I mean, you can in the sense of cheering each other on or, making healthy meals for each other. But at the end of the day, it's on you
Mm-hmm.
to achieve that goal, right? But I think what you're saying is that oftentimes, like, the whole overall, like, where you're going isn't really being shared.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're not really achieving anything together.
Well, not only that, but like, to give the weight loss example, right? Of the sense of like, it is on the individual because it's their mind that's going to control that situation. But how does that play into your lifestyle together,
Mm-hmm.
right? Do you have one person that like just wants to go to work and they want to come home and they want to sit on the couch and they want to eat whatever or drink beer, and like, that's their life, while your other partner is going to the gym every day and eating healthy and trying to meal prep,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, how does that play in to each other? A lot of times that you have situations, right, where one partner will start the motivation and start moving in a positive direction, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're sitting here saying, man, uh, if I was sitting on the couch every day when I came home, I just sat on the couch, drank beer, watched a football game or whatever, right? Watched the news, or watched whatever on the TV, and you were going to the gym every day, and all of a sudden here, a year or two in, I'm doing the same stuff and I'm just gaining weight, and you're getting in better and better shape. And then you start saying, man, I really want to do these crazy hikes. And man, maybe I want to go do this run, or maybe I want to do X, Y, and Z,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, how do those things play into our lives together?
Yeah.
Because at that point, something that is positive is driving a wedge between us. That's not bad. It's on the other partner that doesn't, wants to basically not be involved in anything and just sit around and be lazy, right?
Yeah.
However, have you actually discussed that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like, in that scenario, if your goal is to lose X amount of pounds and you want to go do some marathon up a mountain or something, right? Okay, well, how does that play into our lives?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have to necessarily be a part of that. I don't have to go train the same way you do at the gym. I don't have to, you know, go run up a mountain with you. But if that's a goal of yours, what's our overall vision of our relationship in our life? Well, we want to lead a healthy lifestyle. Okay. So that's your goal, your personal goals that I can support you in, but they're your goals and it's on you to accomplish them.
Yeah.
That also meets that overall lifestyle
Mm-hmm.
goal, right? But if you're doing it because you have these goals, my goal is to watch football every day, right? Those are vastly different goals and they don't
Yeah.
align,
Yeah.
right? And when you start compounding all these lifestyle things, right, you start seeing this wedge grow between people and get bigger and bigger and bigger,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you can look at the same aspects of that in goal setting for every subject that's part of your relationship, right? We're using health and fitness and weight loss as this example, but insert whatever you want, right?
Hmm.
If one of my goals forever since I was in high school, right? Like I was having conversations about this crap in high school is to have property in the middle of nowhere, build a nice cabin, build a nice setup, right? That's somewhat self-sufficient and not because I want to go live off the grid 24/7. To each their own. It's not my thing, but I like having the option,
Hmm.
right? And I also want to be able to escape and unplug and not, be on my phone or attached to electronics or whatever and be able to go just out and enjoy nature,
Yeah.
right? And enjoy the outdoors and be involved in activities whether it's fishing or hunting or collecting friggin' berries and mushrooms or
That's my
what
thing.
yeah, yeah. Whatever it is, right? That's been one of my goals forever. And then we talked about it and y- you your goals with being out in nature all the time and enjoying the outdoors and stuff align with my goals.
Hmm.
And that doesn't necessarily mean like we had the same vision of, well, let's buy property in the middle of nowhere and build a cabin, right?
Yeah.
But you do have the goal of, hey, I want to be able to do this stuff. I want to be able to take the kids away from the city and get away and escape and enjoy the outdoors. I want to be able to go enjoy the outdoors. I'm like, cool. Well, this is what I want, right?
Yeah.
So then we look at property and then you start going down that rabbit hole of acquiring, property and making plans and all the stuff that comes along with it. Our goals are very similar, right? And that's a great example of how goals are very similar. You can do it with finances, you can do it with, you know, health and fitness, you can do it with hobbies, you can do it with your faith and your religion, you can, whatever it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can do it and plug in the same formula and plug in the same situation. I don't feel that enough relationships take the time to actually understand that,
Hmm.
right?
So, how do you feel like we went from, you know, these individual goals that were just really for us and honestly at the time were pretty superficial, to where we are now actually having like aligned goals and vision? How do you feel like we got there? Like what did we do to get to that point?
A lot of it was starting with mindset, to be completely honest, right? And it wasn't just the goal setting area of our relationship. Like you explained, right? Like we weren't good at it at first. We
Hmm.
tried, right?
Yeah.
But it took us a year to figure out how to build that connection when we set goals.
Hmm.
So I don't know if it's something that can come overnight. I think it comes from building deep connection and relationship and then also having an understanding of saying, I want this life with my partner. How do we build a life together?
Hmm.
Right? How do we build a life that's not us just cohabitating the same space?
Hmm.
And I think that's key, right? And that doesn't mean you can't go have your own hobbies because you need to. Both
Right.
men and women need to have their own hobbies that they get away from their partner and they get away from the house and they go do whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? Whether that's outdoors, skiing or hunting or fishing or whatever it is, or freaking knitting or a book club, right? Like it doesn't matter what it is, or the gym or jujitsu or
Yeah.
whatever you have a passion for, and you need to have your own hobbies and time away. But having your own hobbies and time away is different than I'm going to build this life. And both of you are building it to your own concept with no connection or communication of what does our lives look like,
Hmm.
right? And maybe the issue is that's a first date freaking question, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's, part of it right there is we spend so much time looking for well, society teaching us we have to be with somebody, and we have to, and we get in this like anxious fear of missing out. So we're gonna just the first person that we kind of halfway connect with, oh, that's the one,
Mm-hmm.
right? Without even learning who they are, learning about their past, learning about what their future looks like or what they envision their future to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's, part of the problem. But for us, I mean, it took practice, took us actively saying, hey, we want to build a life together. Hey, we want to set goals and visions together. This is important to us, right? So when you
Yeah.
decide it's important to you, that's when you actually make the effort to make the changes.
I do think that's true and like building the connection. Actually, maybe the way that we did it is a good maybe model to start with at least because then you're at least talking about even if they are superficial goals, you're talking about hey, these are the things I want, these are the things you want. Maybe here's a couple things that we both agree we want.
Mhm.
And then building off of that. I'm learning what you really want in your life. You're learning what I really want.
Mhm.
And then we progress to, you know, the next stage of building it together. And oh, maybe we have a couple more that are just more us and
Mhm.
less individual. So we're still learning something, still growing. And then we get to a point where it's like, no, we actually have the same goals and the same vision. I think of one of our goals on our board right now is just to read the Bible front to back. And that can look, I have read different chapters of the Bible so far than you have read. And so it doesn't have to be like, oh, we're reading the exact same thing at the exact same time, but like doing it together in the sense of, hey, this is our goal. We're both going to achieve it, but it doesn't have to be done the exact same way.
Mhm.
Same thing with the like healthy lifestyle, which is another one of our goals. We're not going to achieve it the same way, and we're not going to have the same individual goals in that,
Mhm.
but overall, we're still achieving the same goal together.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. And like, you know, going back to the health thing, when, like you said, the way we accomplish it and the way that we attack it and the goal that I have for myself or what healthy looks like to me is different than, what it looks like to you,
Mm-hmm.
right? I feel like a lot of your stuff is you just, you want to feel good. You want to be a little more tone, and you want to have endurance to go do activities, right? Whether that's
Yeah, I want to go
hiking,
hike all the mountains.
right, go outdoors. Like for me, I'll go on a hike with you, right? Like, but that's your thing, right? Like, I will absolutely do that with you, and it's a good
Yeah.
time for us to spend together. But that's your thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have specific goals with fitness, with muscle mass, and more of a look that I want to achieve, but also have some of my training, that I've had in the past along with it. And both of those, right, require healthy eating habits. So that's a place we can come together.
Mm-hmm.
But the other stuff, right, like our workouts are going to look very different. We don't go to the gym at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
and some couples do, and that's great. Like if you can go to the gym and that's your thing with your partner, fantastic, right?
Yeah, it'd be cool if we could, but we
Yeah.
can't.
But for us, it's not a thing. And that's, a great example of how we did that. But I think that a lot of this comes back to when we chose to take the steps forward, right? Because when we started that journey, I think we knew a vague outline of how we wanted our lives to be. But as this process has progressed, we've also dialed in more and more of the details. And it's not just this stick figure outline sketch anymore of our lives. Now we're starting to see vision. We're starting to see it. We can picture it. We can almost feel it, right? Of where our future lies. And that part of that is the self work that you do and discovering, who you are, what you want, who your partner is, and what they want.
Yeah.
But that's where starting somewhere, like you said, when we first started, they were very superficial. They didn't hold weight, and I don't even think we necessarily wanted all of them. It just sounded good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, man, if we can do this though and get to a place, right? And we've talked about it in previous podcasts where it's this thing, it is like working out, right? Like a relationship and being successful at it is a lot like working out, where you're taking these small steps and you're not going to notice the progress at first. You're not going to notice, you starting to tone up and you losing weight, and the scale might not even be changing, right? And even a few months in, you're like, man, I've only lost 10 pounds, right? And then you're like, man, but then you look at pictures, you're like, holy cow, 6 months ago, I look like that?
Yeah.
That's crazy, right? And the relationship is the same thing in the sense that starting somewhere and just trying to figure out how to write your goals together, right? Because even the way you communicate these goals are going to be unique to your relationship. And you have to figure out how to communicate those and how to actually connect with your partner and say, this is what I want and it's important to me, right? And for us, that looks like a chalkboard with basically a picture frame around it that we sit down using chalk markers and we write them out, right, together. And we talk about them. And then we talk about the stuff and we talk about the goals all the time. And we actively pick, say, one or two things and say, okay, this is what we want to focus on. And we just focus on those as our primary thing during that time period. And we've slowly transitioned from less superficial goals as we've really done this process and kind of repeated the process and figured it out and practice. It's just like playing a sport. You have to practice. Relationships, you have to practice anything you want to be good at. And if you want to be good at creating goals together with your partner and creating goals for your future and a vision for your future together, you have to practice and get the reps in.
And I think too, if you think about it and like getting better at it, I think that often will also look like more narrowed down goal. You're not going to have as many because like the overall vision is those few things, right? Because if you think back on ours, we probably started with, shoot, I don't even know, probably 20 goals on our board. And
I'd say more, probably pushing 30 to be honest. Yeah.
probably it was a lot. And then the next time we did it, we narrowed it down quite a bit. And there was probably only, I don't know, maybe like 15 ish. And now I think we only have maybe 7 or 8 on there, but they're very dialed in and specific and ones we can actually achieve, like very achievable.
Yeah.
If we
And
just
not
keep,
that they're easy, right?
yeah.
Most of those it takes us stretching. Each one we do, we have to push ourselves a little bit harder, but they are achievable. It's not, hey, I want to go from, I make $50,000 a year at, whatever job X, Y, and Z, and in 6 months I want to make $1 million. Well, what skills have you learned? What, not to say you can't hit it big on some crazy idea, right? But like
Yeah.
the likelihood of that happening is probably not super achievable. But all of our goals are very achievable. They're very, like you said, specific compared to what they used to be. And it's all stuff where, like, we applied ourselves. Here we are knocking out, the first two, which are arguably the easiest, in about 2 months, right? From the time we set them. The next one, the next couple ones that we tackle, going to be bigger, right? There's some steps. Some of it is us waiting on some stuff that's somewhat out of our control, timelines, different things, right? But you start getting to some of those other ones that are a little more into the list that are completely within our control, and they're hefty. Like, can we do it? For sure,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
They
but it's going to
take
take work.
they take discipline too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like we're just going to achieve them by coasting along and not doing anything. Like
Mm-hmm.
none of them are really like that.
No.
We say they're achievable, but that's because like we continue to push ourselves and be disciplined towards achieving those goals. Not like we're setting a goal that, really we could just sit on the couch and it would achieve itself. We don't really have any goals like that.
Yeah. Would be nice. But they definitely don't. They definitely don't add up for us, and especially the lifestyle that we want, right? It doesn't. It just doesn't jive with where we want to go.
I don't know if they're realistically doing their goals, could put goals down that you could just sit and coast on. Like that's not really what a goal is. you know,
Yeah.
they're supposed to be to push yourself to achieve more and do more and grow the life that you're called to live, right?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. It's definitely a challenge and definitely a struggle, like to figure out what exactly those things should be, and we go through phases as individuals and as couples that change those things,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I think refreshing is important, because you're going to, as you're doing that, you're going to find the ones that stick, and those are the ones that really mean something to you that you need to focus on, you
Right.
know but that's the starting place, is sit down with your partner and write it down on something you can put somewhere that is visible and regularly visible. For us, it's right outside our master bathroom door,
Mm-hmm.
hanging on the wall, and it's not a little chalkboard that you write a cute note on, that's maybe 8 inches by 10 inches. Like, it's, a 2 foot by 3 foot chalkboard,
Yeah.
right? And we use colors, so it's bright. I mean, it's doesn't necessarily match the decor, but it gets your attention.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's where to start, right? Is find a way to write it down, even if it is just on a piece of paper that you post, next to the door to your bedroom that you leave and you see every day. And start writing down those goals together, and then talk about them.
Mm-hmm.
And your conversations with your partner regularly should also include these goals and things that you guys are actively doing to get closer to those goals.
Yeah. And if you realize that you're not really achieving them because you're not really trying, or your overall vision has just changed because you've both changed, that's the point at which you should sit down and revisit them. I
Yeah.
don't think that I don't know, maybe people can sit down and write goals for a year and actually just have the same goals for the entire year, but I feel like part of growing on a consistent basis is the fact that your goals are probably going to change throughout that year.
Yeah, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna change, as in you're gonna want completely different things. It's certainly possible, and depending on events in your life, that can certainly change. And I think that's a very underestimated or under talked about factor, is like there's a lot of things in your life and in your environment that are going to drastically change, that may change your goals, but
Mm-hmm.
that's different than letting your environment keep you off course from going after your vision.
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that's an important factor or distinction there that people need to understand too, is your vision doesn't really change. Your goals can, right? And they can even get bigger,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maybe you undershot yourself and you're like, man, I really applied myself and it should have taken me 6 months. It took me 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that goal was probably way too small,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, so then you keep going, you keep pushing yourself, and that's why they change, is because you're growing,
Yeah.
or like we said, other factors. If you are planning, some crazy marathon, let's use that marathon, run up a mountain, and you've got 3 months to prepare for it, and that's one of your goals, and then you're in a car accident and you're doing, you know, physical therapy, and realistically, like, I wouldn't say throw that goal out completely, but it's a little further out now. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe your goal for the next 3 months isn't to compete in the marathon up the mountain. It's to just get your braces off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's stuff that can happen that changes that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that severe, right? If you got a health and fitness goal, and as you grow and as you know, get better at whatever it is you're chasing, your goal should also change.
Mm-hmm.
As you understand more about yourself and your relationship and your mindset, things should change, right? But changing your goals to say, well, maybe you're at a place in your relationship where you're nonstop arguing and you can't get out of this rut, and there's no connection, there's no intimacy, and you know maybe your goal is to just build a consistent date night where you can connect with your partner,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if you accomplish that, then that's not your goal anymore,
Mm-hmm.
right? Your
Should
vision,
be something bigger.
right? And your vision is this picture of the relationship and the way you see it,
Mm-hmm.
right? But those goals change throughout it. Maybe you're not married yet and that's your goal, is to get married,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maybe your goal is to do some type of marriage retreat, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this marriage retreat costs $15,000, and you only make $42,000 a year, and you're like, man, how do I, right? So that might be a big goal for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to figure out maybe some side work, or getting a second job temporarily, or going after these raises at work, or whatever that looks like to achieve that goal.
Mm-hmm.
But the vision isn't the marriage retreat. The vision is how your relationship looks,
Yeah.
right? And that's the part of it that I'm trying to get people to understand, of your goals don't have to look the same as your partner, and you need individual goals. There's going to be together goals and there's going to be individual goals.
Mm-hmm.
But the vision of your life, of your relationship, you and your partner need to be on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not, you're going to be going in two different directions, and you're going to look like one of the cartoons where you've got two horses and you got a guy strapped in the middle and he's getting pulled two different directions.
I think that's a good distinction. Is you should have an overall vision,
Hmm.
and your goals should be leading you to that vision,
Correct.
right? So if that's not the case, if you just have these random goals that really aren't leading you to your overall vision in life, they probably aren't really goals that you're going to achieve, or, you know,
Right.
like,
And if that vision doesn't match your partner,
right, that's an
you know what
issue.
I mean? I mean, then, like I said, and that's the biggest thing, is that I don't think when people are goal setting, they take enough time to draw the whole picture.
Hmm.
They think about these goals that are personal goals and individual goals, and it's a want. It's not even a goal to help you get to your vision. It's a want that sounds cool,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And then you end up not achieving 90% of them, or you end up, maybe you do get aggressive and you start killing it. But next thing you know, a year from now, there's this massive divide between you and your partner. And you're like, man, how did we get so far apart?
Are you working towards the same vision still?
Right. Probably not.
Yeah. So maybe that's what your goal for this week should be, is to actually sit down with your partner and talk about your vision
Yeah.
for
Write it
life
out.
together.
Go get a piece of paper. Go get one of your kids' colored pencils, or get a piece of notebook paper and a pen, or type it out on your Word doc or your Google Doc on your computer,
Mm-hmm.
or a whiteboard or a chalkboard, or whatever makes sense to you,
Mm-hmm.
to get that onto paper, because there's something magical about physically writing stuff on paper
Yeah.
and putting it down on paper and not just in your head.
Yeah.
And do that with your partner and talk about the vision of 5 to 10 years and even longer
Mm-hmm.
if you've been together a while and you guys have that grand of a vision. But I would say at minimum 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And if you can, push yourself to 20 years. What is your vision for your life and for your relationship in that timeline?
And then after you've both created that together, then I think you can sit down and do a goals board for the year and make
Mm-hmm.
sure that those align with your vision.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if not, it's probably a different discussion. And you both need to figure out what you actually want so you can get them to align.
Yeah,
All right, we're leaving you with that. That's all you get.
that was a good one.
Yeah. All right, y'all. We'll see you next time.
Until next time, bye.